To just quickly introduce myself, my name's Clowes, and as you can see, I'm Carbon and Sustainability Manager here at Tremo campus. I've been working from the beginning of this academic year. I've been working for Tremo since about September time. And before that, I've got a background in strategic town and country planning and also strategic sustainable policy making at a local level. Here at Tremo, I'm responsible for ensuring that we continue to make good progress with our carbon management plan and that we also comply with all environmental legislation. And I work with all campus users to make sure that we're all taking actions to reduce our consumption of non-renewable resources and that we're striving to protect and enhance the environmental assets that we've got. And that's not just locally. I also kind of try to make sure that people are feeling, looking globally as well, and the impact that we're having on the campus. Since I've been here, I've put together an environmental sustainability action plan, mainly because up until to date, we have very much concentrated on, we've got two plans, our carbon management plan and our sustainable travel plan, our green travel plan. But it hasn't really enabled us to look at some of the wider areas of environmental sustainability. So this travel plan has been divided, the action plan has been divided into bite-sized chunks. It includes energy and water management, procurement, transport, biodiversity, waste and recycling, and also important things like awareness raising, information technology, the place making, the place that we're actually in on the campus itself. And we're also starting to look at things like food and events management and making them more sustainable. And certainly really trying to kind of consider the campus as a living laboratory and also a living studio for the Falmouth art side of it. I need my notes, sorry, I've gone ahead of myself. We have the carbon management plan, and in the short time that I've got, I'm not going to be able to tell you about everything that's on our environmental sustainability action plan, because it does cover the wide remit. So I'm just going to talk to you about some of the actions to date on our carbon management plan and some of our plans for the future to make the campus more sustainable. So I'm going to concentrate on telling you about the carbon management plan, tell you about our achievements to date, our planned projects, and some of the awareness-raising activities we're going to be looking at over the next academic year. Although some of our planned activities do obviously relate to far wider sustainability things such as biodiversity, community, etc. Our carbon management plan was adopted by the institutions, that's University College Falmouth and the University of Exeter, in March 2011, although it had been in operation before then. It's managed on their behalf by their joint service provider, which is Tremo Campus Services, who are my employer. The carbon management plan does not just cover Tremo campus, it also covers all of UCF's activities, so it also covers Wood Lane campus in Penryn. So one of the reasons, obviously, for doing it is good carbon management and having a carbon management plan is probably one of the first plans you would put in place working for an institution, because it allows people to start to live closer to their own environmental limits and enables us to start to adopt those principles of sustainable development, which we can then embed in future plans and strategies for the campus. But not only that, good energy management helps us reduce running costs. Using our energy efficiently is going to allow us as a university to spend a greater part of the budget on those important things that matter, like the students' education and investment in staff and research, rather than on overheads. The electricity bill alone for Tremo campus for last year was just over £600,000. And due to continued rises in electricity costs and the fact that we're a growing campus, we're expecting this to rise by about 20% in this academic year, which finishes at the end of July. It's estimated that our total utilities bill for Tremo campus, this isn't Wood Lane, it's just Tremo, is going to be about £1.2 million this year, and over half of that is being spent on electricity. Blue doesn't come out very well, I'm sorry about that. This graph here shows carbon emissions from energy consumption on Tremo campus for last year, that's the red line, compared to the previous year, 2009-10. And as you can see from this, we haven't really been doing very well, even though we've got a carbon management plan in place. Our energy last year was 15% higher than the year before. Sorry, I've got to turn my page over again, I keep forgetting. But we also have to bear in mind that Clowes campus is a rapidly expanding campus. So even though Clowes itself wasn't successful in reducing its carbon footprint last year, it was because of the idea that we knew that we were going to continue to expand, that when the carbon management plan was devised, it was decided that not only would we report on our overall carbon emissions, but we would also report in tonnes of carbon emissions, equivalent emissions per square metre of internal floor area, and also per full-time education, full-time equivalent student numbers. Just put it in perspective, so for the 2010 year compared to the 2009 year, we saw a rise of full-time equivalent students of around 27% compared to them. And we also saw an increase in our residential occupancy, because this applies for, it's not just academic usage, this is our residencies as well. We saw an increase in residential occupancy in between those 2 years of about 30%. There are also other reasons for this difference. We had the merger of University College Falmouth with Dartington College of Arts, and so we acquired an extra 4,100 metres of floor space, this building you're in here, and when Dartington College activities moved down to Falmouth. But it's not actually quite as bad as it first appears. Clowes campus shouldn't be considered in isolation. Our carbon management plan doesn't just consider our utility usage, our energy usage. It also includes waste, water, and our fleet emissions. And it also covers, as I said before, all of University College Falmouth's activity. So it includes Wood Lane campus and up until 2009 Dartington College. When we put all these together, you can see from this graph that whilst this is still a long way to go from the 2005-06 baseline, that's the first set of columns, we have actually been making good progress in reducing that gap. So there has been an improvement, and our overall emissions are falling. Compared to the 2005-06 baseline, our University College has actually increased its carbon emissions. I'm sorry, I need to make this quite plain, that the two institutions, whilst they share a vision, they've both got different targets for energy reduction, which there's a historical reason for that. But anyway, so University College has increased by 16.6%, but it has actually reduced its energy by 23% per square metre of floor area compared to the 2005-06 baseline. And University Exeter has increased by 25.4%, but reduced its usage by 32% per square metre of floor area. Most of this reduction was due to a range of capital investments over the last couple of years. We've been concentrating on things like boiler replacements, changing from some of our heating from oil to gas. We've put in lots of insulation and those types of capital measures. We've got a full range of programs to go ahead for this year as well. We're rolling out a PC virtualization. That's University College Falmouth, so that means we're getting rid of the big desktops, and you'll just be plugging your little kind of thing into a thing in the wall, and that'll be saving an awful lot of energy. We've just invested in LED lighting. We've invested around the campus. We've got 270 bollards, which we've changed from 70-watt bulbs to an LED sleeve. Those are expected to, just for those 270 lamps, will save us about 25 tonnes of carbon a year. And not only that, we won't be going around changing light bulbs every 12 months. We're expecting those LEDs to be lasting for about at least 15 years. We're reducing our waste to landfill. We've got a photovoltaic array going up on the Alan Livingston building at the Wood Lane campus, which will also be saving about 25 tonnes of carbon a year. And we're piloting LED lighting at some of our top car parks up here. We're also putting new waste and recycling facilities throughout the whole of this campus because we're writing a new energy waste and resources action plan, and it'll be part of that. We're buying a few electric vehicles, and we're looking at things like printer rationalisation and audio-visual equipment running on presence detectors. And not only that, we're also, all our new builds on the campus are being built to the highest environmental standards of BREEAM Excellent, and in the case of the ESI building, to BREEAM Outstanding. My 3/4 year analysis because I measure our carbon, I spend most of my time looking at meter readings and measuring and changing kilowatt hours to carbon equivalents. I've just completed our 3/4 year analysis of this current academic year compared to the previous one, which is suggesting that we are, yes, continuing to reduce our carbon footprint overall compared to this year so far to the previous period of the year before. I think I'm seeing a reduction of 11.5% overall. However, once I start to analyse this, it's not quite so rosy. The residencies and Wood Lane campus are actually seeing virtually no reduction. They're more or less the same. And when you consider the fact that we've had a lot less cold weather days this year compared to the previous year, that actually means I'm not seeing any improvement in those areas. So whilst I'm investing a lot of money, or we are investing a lot of money in capital projects, we also need to be investing money in revenue and behavioural change projects. And to date, we haven't been particularly good at that. And the reason why is because we just haven't had the resource. So over 2012-13, the academic year that's coming up, I'm delighted that I've been allowed to have a 12-month student internship working with me. We'll be advertising that job towards the end of this month, early June. And that person will be leading on awareness-raising activities. We're going to be spending the summer putting together new dedicated sustainability web pages where you'll see a seamless kind of thing between the two institutions and Tremo campus services. So if you're an Exeter student, for example, and you type onto your Exeter website sustainability at Tremo, you won't even realise that you've left your Exeter kind of server and you're actually on ours. And so we're going to have lots more information and awareness raising. We're developing a programme of events and training for staff, visitors and other campus users. We're going to be reviving the Environmental Champions Network, which was set up before I started by my predecessor. But as I say, these types of activities, unless you've got the resource to actually push them forward and get them done, they start off with good intentions and then they go that way. So we're also going to be participating in the National Union of Students Green Impact Programme, which is something that Exeter already do. Not a lot on this campus, but certainly they do it on their Streatham campus. So we will be joining in with that with TCS and University College Falmouth. We're also going to be participating once again in the Student Switch Off campaign. That is lots of focus on the residential areas, really, and behavioural change in the residencies. And quite importantly, I think it's something that we haven't, well, we've done it a little bit, but we haven't done it as well as we could in the past. We're going to really be pushing opportunities to link the curriculum and research with how we actually manage the campus. So whether it's kind of getting involved in things like helping us with audits, we've already got the Eco Society doing biodiversity audits for us, waste management audits, or even if it's dissertation projects and things like that. We're keen to kind of really involve students with everything that we do. So I'm getting to it. But When I was asked, the one thing that we can do to help, and especially on Tremo campus, to actually help us kind of become much more environmentally sustainable, is to participate. Because I've noticed it's the actual people that use the campus on a day-to-day basis. You're the best people who actually know the ways to save carbon, not just carbon, and also, you know, about bad environmental practices that are happening. And it's working together and by talking to each other that we're going to be able to develop these kind of workable solutions that just are easy. They're easy changes to make. It just kind of makes, you do have to change a little bit, but not too much. So it's talking together to try and come with win-win situations. So our environmental sustainability action plan that we've got sets out some of the simple actions that we can make, but actually it's working together that we can make the differences, because we can put the things in place to make things work, but we need everybody to have a little bit of change in behaviour or think about ways in which they can help. So that's it. My environmental sustainability action plan needs you, the users of the campus, working collectively. We can all make a big difference. And that's it. Thank you.
I've just finished, I'm third year, but in first year, one thing that I wondered about was you've got recycling in the flats, but there's no ability to compost anything. Like, threw away so much sort of bio waste just because there's nothing else to do with it. I wondered if that was part of the future plans at all.
We're looking at the moment at putting some green cones in. We're going to trial them in some of the kind of scaff areas first, and the green cone kind of just dig it into the ground, and then you can put all your food waste in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Things, well, probably bones and things like that, but you can put bread in and stuff like that. We do have a composter on site, but it's not actually working at the moment. Part of the problem is logistics and getting food waste up to it. But we are writing a waste and recycling strategy action plan at the moment, and we are kind of looking at that area of whether or not we could actually compost food waste. Obviously, all green waste or garden waste is composted at the moment, but it's actually done manually.
Yeah.
Two things really. First one is, just remind me of how much you're spending on electricity a year.
Last year we spent £605,000.
Okay. Have you thought about getting friendly with a farmer, and with that sort of money, you could actually build a pretty respectable wind turbine and actually be producing your own electricity and nullifying all that carbon, and also eventually becoming a source of income for the college as well?
We certainly are. I mean, in context with we have a renewable energy course here on this campus. Part of this internship role is going to be looking at a low-carbon renewable energy project for the campus that we can take forward. And we're certainly looking at ideas of perhaps being able to, because I think this campus itself, especially with the amount of new buildings that are likely to go ahead in the future, I think it's slightly limited on the amount of energy we can produce on campus. So we're certainly looking at those type of ideas, like a wind turbine or some other technologies that we could do off campus and go into the grid, etc., and so we can offset it. Although actually that wouldn't really have any impact on my carbon management plan, because that's not the way I have to measure it. However, that isn't easy to do.
And then following on from that, and perhaps just a little bit more holistically, what are you doing with your sewage? I mean, it's one thing to be saving the apple cores. There are, I presume, over a year, several 100,000 extremely valuable and nutritious turds being thrown away that we need to be saving and getting back out to farmland, directly or indirectly.
Certainly, at the moment, it's something we haven't really looked at is water management as such, I must admit. One of my main focuses at the moment actually isn't so much the sewerage, it's more food waste, because the actual food waste from the kitchens at the moment is actually being macerated and put down the Mediterranean, which is absolutely awful. So we're getting a waste to water machine which works on enzymes and brings it all down. So that's one of our first stages. But obviously, once we've got that in, let's start to look at what we need to do.
Well, I think what I'm trying to say is that the whole of that needs to stop being looked at as waste and needs to be regarded as a valuable resource, which it is. And I think so much of what we talk about all the time to do with waste, actually it isn't waste. We've got to eliminate that word from our vocabulary, really. It's resource, and we need to be using it. And with an organisation this big, you've got real opportunities.
Certainly. Well, as I say, we had conversations last week because of the waste. It was going to be a waste and recycling strategy, which we've already started working on. We've actually changed it to a waste and resource strategy, and behind that we're including water management and as part of it. So that mindset, that thinking is there, but it's very early days.
Just a quick question. Is there any way to, as you were saying, to get to know your local farmer, to send the food waste to perhaps be used in that way for animals? Would that be a...
I believe at Wood Lane campus that actually happens. It's like different operation on Wood Lane campus. I believe the food waste does go to a local farmer, or at least I've been told it does. Certainly, another piece of work that's happening, and I won't be directly managing it, but it's part of my environmental sustainability action plan, is food and events sustainable management strategy. So those types of things need to go into that piece of work. So it's all there. So up to date, I would say we've very much concentrated on travel and carbon on these campuses. But obviously now we're starting to expand the remit to start looking strategically at how we're going to deal with some of the other issues.
Okay. In terms of the student internship, would that just be concerned with the participation side of the environmental sort of planning and education programme, or would they also be involved in actually managing things like introducing things like getting rid of food waste, or is it mostly the participation?
The focus will be on participation. I'm hoping this internship is going to be, we're going to be seeing some great results, and it's going to be a year-on thing that I will have support and an intern work with me. This first year internship is very much, it's going to be in two parts. One is looking at a viability study which we can take forward, which will lead to a high carbon reduction for the campus, whether it's renewable energy or a low carbon technology that will benefit from our campus. The other part of the job will be awareness raising. Whether or not that person would have enough time in between all of that to do anything else, but obviously you've got to bear in mind, by that person doing that and doing some of this other work, it's going to free up some of my time, so I'm going to have more time to do some of more this strategic kind of action making. But certainly, a lot of the stuff, as you were saying about recycling and waste management, that is done by other people on the campus. What we need to do is just try to make it more uniformed and try to get people to work with all the new infrastructure that we're taking in. So people's job roles on the campus already might just change a little bit in the way they do things.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.